Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am so excited to be reviewing and demoing the new Huda Beauty Complexion launch. So much new is dropping, and this was one of those new launches that I was extremely excited about. So we have the new foundation, primer, and also a brush to test out. So today we're gonna go ahead and do a wear test. I'm going to try the products on, see if this is worth the hype, see if it really does give you that blurred effect, see how the wear is wearing this all day. So if you're excited about this launch, give this video a thumbs up. Of course, I will link this down below and all of the other makeup that I end up wearing. And if you're new here, I hope you stick around and subscribe. And let's go ahead and jump into trying the new Huda Beauty Complexion products. Okay, so before we get into the demo, I do want to talk about the products in this collection and the claims before we actually try them on. So we have 3 new products. We have the Easy Blur Natural Airbrush Foundation, and then we also have the Easy Blur Primer. I'm really excited about this because I'm a huge fan of the Glowish Blur Primer. And then we do also have a brush. So I'm going to be trying all of these products out today. These were sent to me in PR. I was actually surprised. I received them a couple days ago, but it was right before we were hosting like 50 people for Labor Day. So it was like, can't film with it at that time. But I was gonna pick these up regardless if they were sent to me or not, because I love the Huda Beauty Glowish Blur Jam. You guys know that I have raved about this for so long. It is the best smoothing primer for pores in my opinion. And I know this is getting discontinued. Now I'm not sure if this is supposed to replace it, but they're both a silicone-free blurring primer, so I'm thinking maybe so. I know the Glowish line overall is being discontinued, so I am wondering if this is just a replacement for this Blur Jam because so many people loved it. But let's go ahead and talk about the products. So I want to talk about the foundation first. So this is the Easy Blur Natural Airbrush Foundation. Now this is available now. I will have it linked down below. It retails for $37. I'm actually really happy with that price. I feel like obviously inflation and just makeup, everything is getting so expensive. So you do get 1 ounce, which is typical for most foundations. Now this is described as a lightweight medium to buildable coverage foundation that's non-comedogenic and ultra blurring for an airbrushed finish. It's vegan and cruelty free. It's also a fragrance free formula, which I absolutely love. And they do classify it as medium coverage with a natural finish. There are 30 shades, but available now there's only 29. There was some sort of issue with one of the shades in particular, so I'm not sure if there was like an error with fulfillment or the warehouse, something of that nature. But I really am excited about this because it's supposed to be just a super blurring foundation. I feel like the overuse of filters has just really been kind of out of control, specifically with short form content. And I find a lot of the time, even though I'm aware of it because I do work in this space, I do look at other people that I know have like beauty mode on, or they've done some sort of like filtering to their content, and I feel like my skin is horrible and I don't look the same, and it's really hard to not compare yourself. So I think that this campaign overall from Huda is basically saying we don't need filters, just having the right products for you can really give you that confidence and that really blurred, poreless look so that you feel comfortable in your own skin without having to use filters. And then I want to talk about the primer. So this is the Easy Blur silicone-free smoothing primer. You do get 1 ounce of this as well. This is $29, and this is a fragrance-free matte finish, silicone-free. It says it's best for dry, combo, and normal skin. It doesn't say oily, so I'm interested. Non-comedogenic jelly-like primer controls excess oil, which is sort of confusing because it doesn't say it's good for oily skin. Jelly-like primer instantly controls excess oil, adds a smooth texture, and blurs pores for an airbrushed, soft, focus finish. Now this says it's made in South Korea and it has a 12-month shelf life, and then the foundation is made in Italy and it has an 18-month shelf life. Now for the foundation shades, I was sent 3 shades. I pulled 2 of them out. Now I have Creme Brulee, which looks a little bit more yellow or warm, and then I have shortbread, which looks maybe a little bit more neutral. So I wanna go ahead and try to swatch these for you. And I'm gonna shake it up because it does say shake well. It does have a squeezy tube packaging. So this is the shade Shortbread, which actually is a little bit lighter when swatched than I thought it would be. And then Creme Brulee is definitely warmer. I don't know, I might have to mix them. Creme Brulee, definitely more yellow toned. So I may have to mix these today just to get the tone that's gonna look the best. I have been out a lot this summer, so I actually do have some natural color. Like I don't have self-tan on, I just have natural color, but I always slather my face with SPF so my face never tans. So those are the products and the swatches, a little bit about them, but I wanna go ahead and zoom you in and let's go ahead and start applying and see how this looks on the skin. So I'm gonna start with my Freck Rich Moisturizer. I'm just gonna use this as my skin prep. I haven't put anything on my skin yet, so I just like to use this to give me a nice hydrated base. And this has been my favorite moisturizer for under makeup, honestly, for a few years now. Nothing has touched it. So I'm just gonna really work that into the skin. And then I figured that I would try the primer on one side of my face and see if we really notice a difference. I feel like it always gets caught in my nose ring. All right, so next I wanna go in and try the primer on one side of my face. So this primer is interesting because she said that it is best used if you use an entire finger length for one side of your face. Now my thought on that is, would you go through this quickly? Because the amount that she recommended was a finger length. So taking the gel all the way down the finger, and that is just one side of your face. I felt like that seems like a lot, but maybe it does give you this really nice blurred effect. The texture of this is very gel-like, I would say. It feels quite lightweight. It's not going anywhere, so it definitely has that consistency where it's not going to be running anywhere. So I'm just gonna take this and smooth it on this side of my face, which is what Huda recommended. This feels like a lot, but I want to do what she recommends. I would have used less than this for my entire face, but for testing purposes, I am going to really follow her guideline. It feels nice and cooling. I didn't put any up here because I don't really worry about like my forehead. I don't really have like pores that bother me up there. It's gliding very easily. She did say after a couple seconds, it will get a little bit tacky, like it's set in place. So I don't wanna manipulate it too much, but this is the side with the primer, and then without, I definitely feel like you can see it's kind of given that like blurred look, but really the true test is when you start applying a base on top of it. Feels nice and hydrating. I don't feel like it's, you know, drying or getting tight or anything like that. It really just feels like a thicker water gel type consistency. So in terms of foundation, she actually recommends to use a brush. I think she said somewhere this formula doesn't gel with a sponge. So I'm glad that she did say that because I would have tried both on either side. But I'm gonna go in with her face base brush. This is a really large rounded kabuki. I feel like it's going to be really nice because it has density, but you can also move those bristles around. So I think I actually am gonna go in with the Creme Brulee. I'm gonna just put some on the back of my hand. I feel like both of these shades aren't perfect for me, and I'm gonna mix in a little bit of the Shortbread just to tone down that yellow, but I'm kind of thinking that these are both gonna be a little bit light for me. Although it is kind of interesting because I'm much tanner on my arms than I am on my neck. So we'll see how this goes. I'm gonna start on the side without primer just so I can let this primer set. And the consistency of it, it's a thinner consistency, but it's not like dripping. So let's see how this applies on the skin. So I'm using a stippling motion, and it's supposed to be a medium coverage. I do feel like the finish is definitely looking natural, and it's actually really refreshing because I am so burnt out from all of the insanely dewy formulas. It's just kind of gotten a little bit crazy. Like everything is just over the top, super dewy, and not everybody has that skin type. We're kind of missing the middle ground even, not even really matte, just like natural or satin finish. Everything is just like, how glowy can we get it? And I just don't think that's practical for a ton of people. So I always feel like nothing works for my skin type. All right, so this is what the foundation looks like on the side of my face that I use no primer. I do feel like my pores don't look enhanced, so that's a good thing. The Easy Blur foundation is supposed to be blurring in itself, but I wanna see what difference I notice with the primer on this side. So I'm gonna go in and start applying on the other side. I think the brush is nice. I don't know if it's revolutionary. I feel like most of us have this shape of brush in our collection. It is supposed to be buildable, so I feel like just applying a little bit more gives you that nice full medium, and it doesn't feel heavy at all. Like I don't feel like it's sticky, which is something that I've been feeling lately with a lot of the really dewy foundations. Just using this smaller brush to get around my hairline. Okay, so this is what the foundation looks like freshly applied. We have this side with the primer underneath and this side without. Looking up close, I feel like maybe I look a little bit smoother in terms of my pores on this side. So I do see a very small difference, but I don't know if it looks crazy noticeable at the moment. I do agree that this is a medium coverage. It does not feel heavy, but I like that I have a natural glow without it being greasy. This looks nice and healthy. So if you're someone that has like a dry skin type or normal dry, but you like a little bit of that glow, I still think you're gonna get it with this. And I didn't even use, you know, a luminous primer or anything to add extra glow. So just one moisturizer, and this is what this is looking like. So I feel like it looks really good right now. I feel like my pores don't look enhanced, but I still need to set down. Okay, so for concealer, I'm actually gonna use my Tower 28. This is in the shade BU. So I'm just gonna apply this as I normally would, and I'm gonna let this sit for a second so I can get the most coverage out of it. I don't feel like I need to apply concealer anywhere else because the Huda foundation really did give me a nice coverage. I am gonna use this small brush that I used for around my hairline, and this is from Amazon. I can link below, but it comes in a set of 3, and it's literally like $6 for 3. I've purchased so many different sets because I love this. And this is one of those brush shapes that I tend to reach for a lot. I feel like everything is blending perfectly, so no issues. Okay, so the concealer blended perfectly. I didn't notice any issues. So I wanna go in and set. I'm gonna be using the Lunar Beauty powder on one side. This is my holy grail powder. It's just so finely milled. It blurs my pores better than any other powder, and the Huda Beauty was my top before I tried the Lunar Beauty. This also has a little bit of like oil control, so I find that my makeup just wears beautifully throughout the day. I wanna test it against the Makeup by Mario. I know a lot of you were asking me about this. This is very, very blurring. It has a different consistency, and I wanted to just test it again. So I'm gonna go ahead and get any creases out, and then I'm going to use the Lunar powder on this side of my face, and I'm going to press this under the eye and then pull down around my nose. This powder is phenomenal. So I'm sure you can see the difference. Immediately just smooth, blurred. My pores are just like non-existent, which is why I love this powder. And then on this side, I wanna try the Mario. So I'm gonna be using the shade 2 Natural Light. This is interesting because it's very finely milled, but it almost has like a creaminess to it. So it doesn't dust all over like a typical powder that is very fine. It almost kind of clumps together. I don't know how to say that because that sounds bad. So if you can see on the puff, this is the Mario powder versus how the Lunar Beauty sits on the puff. I don't know if you can tell the difference, but if you can see like how it almost like clumps together in this like creamy fashion, where the Lunar is just sort of, you know, smooth across there because it's all very finely milled. And when I say that it does clump together, it's not a negative. It just has this creamy consistency. I feel like the product, I don't know, just holds or binds together. So I want to make sure that my creases are blended out and then use this Makeup by Mario on this side. Just definitely creamier feel, which in turn I would think better for dry skin types, or if you don't like, you know, super mattifying. I'm also going to pull each of the powders down around my mouth area. Feels like the Lunar Beauty is just lighter overall, like it's more finely milled, more lightweight, but I want to give you a close-up. So this is the Lunar Beauty on this side, and then we have the Makeup by Mario on this side. Now, of course, we did apply the Easy Blur primer, so that definitely can make a difference as well. So I'm just taking a fluffier brush with the Lunar powder, the perimeter and the remainder of my face, which I always do. Okay, so this is what my complexion is looking like with both sides set with powder. I do feel like I look really nice and smooth, nice coverage, and after setting it, I don't feel like I look flat and dry or too matte, but I also feel like it's set down, so it doesn't feel sticky or heavy, which is something that I really cannot stand. But I wanna go in next and add my other products on top. I know a lot of people use like all creams, but most days I do reach for just powder products because they're easier. So I just got a new Jouer dark setting powder, and I actually use this as a bronzer. So I'm just gonna use a BK Beauty 104, just more of a fluffier brush. And I want to add some warmth back into the skin. I do feel like the shades that I had were a little bit light for my current color. This used to be like my most used bronzer, and I actually hit pan and almost used it up. I haven't used it in a while, so Jouer sent me a new one, and I was like, you know what, let me go back to that. Okay, and for blush, I wanted to use these new Fenty Beauty blushes I picked up recently. So these are their new suede powder blushes. I got Lollipoppy, and then I did get Bacon Cakes. I picked this one up in store. It's more of a neutral shade. I was thinking it would be similar to Shiso LA from Patrick Ta. Looks like it has a little bit of that like pinky undertone. And then I have worn this one, which is the Lollipoppy. This one's really pretty, but it's very, very pigmented. So I have to use a light hand. So I thought that I would start out with, let's try out Bacon Cakes. And I'm gonna be using a Rephr 05 brush. I think they're actually having some sort of sale right now. So I will put those details in the description box. But they always have like really good sales where you can get like 40% off. And I absolutely love their eye brushes in particular, stand out to me. They just have so many good like detail brushes. So this is what that color looks like, Bacon Cakes. It's a little subdued for my liking, so I'm gonna go in with Lollipoppy. I have to be careful with this one because it is definitely intense. I'm just gonna add, yeah, see, I like how that just like really added a little bit of a pop. And for highlighter, I'm gonna go in with one of my favorites. This is the Tom Ford Soleil Neige Glow Highlighter. I love this. This is the gold toned one, but I also adore the pink one. I got it recently from Nordstrom. Oh my God, it's so pretty. Look how gorgeous that is. Absolutely stunning. It's so beautiful. Moving on to lips, I want to test out this new Fenty Beauty lip liner. I've been hearing some mixed feedback on this, but I picked up the shade Traced Out, which is I guess more of a like red tone nude. It swatches very creamy, so I'm curious to see if I'll like this, because when they're too creamy, I feel like I don't have any control. But I'm gonna go ahead and line my lips, and then we'll decide what lipstick or lip product I want to put on. Okay, so here is the Fenty lip liner. It wasn't as creamy as I was anticipating, which is actually a good thing. And when I tried to remove it, it's like hanging on. It was creamier than most of the lip liners that I really love because I like a drier formula, but I can't stand like the waxy, slippy ones. Like the ColourPop is one of my least favorite. So I feel like this is definitely creamy, but I didn't find it hard to use. It has a nice kind of like weight to it where it's really creamy, but it definitely is like adhering to the lip and not sliding all over. I want to try out this Two Lip Kiss lip product from Fenty Beauty. So I picked this up in store as well. This is one of those more like sheer balmy lipsticks. I don't know if this is gonna be enough pigment with this lip liner. Smells really good. I mean, I feel like it's pretty, but I just feel like this is gonna wear off really quickly, but you never know. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish my brows off camera, and then we'll kind of see what the complexion is looking like with everything done. All right, guys, so I went ahead and did the rest of my makeup. My brows are not cooperating with me today, so we're just gonna disregard those. But I wanna talk about how everything blended and how it looks. I had no issues with any of my products blending over either side. I feel like this really does perform beautifully with powders. So if you're someone that uses a lot of powders, this formula works beautifully with that. Now, looking at either side of my face, I still feel like I look a little bit more blurred and perfected on the side with the primer. And again, the primer did say that it had oil control in it. So I'm wondering if I look a little bit more, I guess, glowy on the side without the primer. I think that my texture is a little bit more noticeable on this side, but again, I have a little bit more glow coming through. If you can tell a difference, let me know down below. I just feel like I have a little bit more of that like natural finish on the side without the primer versus the side with, which would make sense because the original Glowish Blur Primer really was great at controlling oils and giving you that smooth appearance. Now, the one thing I did notice when I was up close in my mirror was I have some sort of like creasing already happening under my eye on the side that I use the Makeup by Mario powder, but I don't have that issue on the side with the Lunar. So it's almost as if the powder didn't like set in my fine lines. It almost looks like it's settling into lines, and I just set it, so that should not be happening. So I'm just taking a really small brush and a little bit more of that Mario powder. I'm gonna try to really get up close to the lash line. Okay, so I went ahead and set that down as best I could. So I feel like it looks better now. I'm gonna have to add a little bit more mascara because the powder has lightened my lashes. But other than that, I feel like everything looks beautiful. I do feel like it's a nice natural finish in the sense that I don't feel like I look flat matte, which I was saying before. So my initial thoughts are that all of the claims seem to be pretty accurate, and this is a type of formula that just works beautifully for my skin type personally. So I want to see how this wears throughout the day. I want to see if I notice a difference on the side with the primer. I want to see if I get oily or if it starts clinging or breaking apart, because as of right now, everything's looking really nice on both sides. So it is about 9 o'clock right now. I'm gonna try to wear this till about 5, give a good 8 hours so that I can upload this tonight. So I will see you guys in a few hours. I'll just kind of check in and see how we're looking in, you know, like 3 or 4 hours, and then I will come back and do my final check-in, and we'll see how this has worn throughout the day. All right, guys, so I'm back for my first check-in. It's a little bit later than I thought, 2:24, so it's been about 5.5 hours now. And I have to say that my skin looks really good. I was looking close up and the only thing that I touched up was my lip product. That Fenty lipstick wore off in a second when I had lunch. And then the lip liner was still intact, but I noticed that it started to crumble a little bit on the edge. So I'm a little bit unsure about how I feel about this. I added a little bit more and then just a lipstick on top. But in terms of the skin, I don't really see much of a difference other than on the side without the primer. I feel like I am starting to get some of my natural oils coming through. I have a little bit of wear on the corners of my mouth, and I think that is because that Fenty lipstick was so hydrating, almost like a gloss, that when I was eating, it went into the corners of my mouth and kind of got on the foundation. So I don't think that has anything to do with the foundation, more so with the fact that I just had a really hydrating product on my lips. But I feel like the skin looks beautiful. I definitely see a little bit more glow on the side without the primer, less oil on the side with the primer, which is what I expected. But aside from my oils peeking through on the side without the primer, I'm not seeing any wear. Maybe a smidge on my chin, like very, very minor. I probably was just resting my chin on my hand. You know, I do touch my face throughout the day and I didn't use a setting spray or anything like that. But other than that, I am not seeing any clinging, no breaking up, no creasing. It really does look really, really nice on both sides. I am quite happy. Again, we're 5 hours in, so I will be back in about 3 hours to do my final check-in. So we'll get a good 8-hour wear and see if we have any changes. I am anticipating maybe just getting a little bit more oily or shiny as the day progresses, but I am pretty impressed and quite happy with how this looks as of right now. So you guys have to let me know what you think down below, but I will be back to do my last check-in here in a few hours. All right, guys, so I'm back for my last check-in of the day. It is 5:25. So I've been wearing this for a good 8.5 hours now, and I feel like I really have my thoughts. So my first impression of these products, let's start with the Easy Blur Primer. I think that this is super similar to the Glowish Blur Jam. It just is in a different component. The feel of it is very similar. I would say this is a little bit more bouncy, a little bit more watery. It smooths better than the original, but overall it gives you that really blurred effect while also controlling oil. I definitely do agree with that claim because you can clearly see how my oil is controlled on this side of my face versus the side without the primer. So I feel like if you have a dry skin type, I don't think this is going to be something that you're really going to want. But if you have combo skin or you get oily in the T-zone, this is a beautiful primer and it really does remind me a lot of the Glowish Blur Jam. The brush I think is nice. It's nothing revolutionary. I feel like we have so many brushes. I mean, most of us just are like overflowing with brushes. So I think it's nice. I don't know if I think it's anything special. So it's just kind of an okay product for me. But let's move on to the foundation. This foundation is gorgeous. So looking at my skin, it's just as I thought it would be. I am just continuing to get a little bit more shine coming through on the side with no primer. So if you wanted this foundation to be a little bit more skin-like, a little bit more glowy, you definitely could just use no primer or use a primer that is glowy, illuminating. If you wanted this to lean more on the matte side, then you would go in with this type of primer, a mattifying primer, less moisturizers. You can really customize this. And I think that's really special because, again, I feel like so many foundations are either just a hard matte or super dewy. Obviously, we're seeing an uptick in the super dewy, but overall, it doesn't feel like there's that many options that are truly long wearing and a natural or satin finish. So it's something that's going to last all day. You can customize it by adding in different setting sprays, powders, and primers, but it doesn't have that overly greasy feel, and it's not dry and like sucking all the life out of your skin. This is truly a sweet spot foundation. I think it's absolutely beautiful. So I think this is a definite yes. I love that it's fragrance free. The price point is good. I just think this is a really beautiful launch. So I'm so excited that I love this. I really was excited for it, and it did sound like something that was gonna work for me having like combo skin, but it really is living up to the hype, and I'm very happy with how this wore. So of course I will test these products out moving forward, and I do want to try different primers and setting sprays and see how I can kind of change the wear and the finish of this product. So I'd love to know your feedback down below. Have you tried this? Did you pick it up? Are you going to pick it up? And what do you think about how this wore? I would love to hear your feedback in the comments, and I will link these products down below as well as all the other makeup that I'm wearing. I hope you found this video helpful, and I hope you're excited about this foundation, because I definitely am. For all of us combo and oily skin girls, like I know we're just ready for something that's not crazy luminous. So excited to keep trying this. I will link it down below. If you enjoyed this video and you're excited about it, please give this video a thumbs up. If you're new here, I hope you stick around and subscribe. As always, thank you guys again so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.